Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. Today, want to discuss something that I've heard a lot of times over this offseason that's just really never made sense to me, and that is the need for the 49ers to trade Trey Lance. And no, this hasn't just come from folks that, quote, hate Trey Lance. And in some cases, you can tell that there's people that just don't like him for whatever reason, and that's kind of strange to me. But this also has come from people who are more pro-trade. This has come from journalists who cover the 49ers who say that the 49ers should trade Trey Lance. And again, it's never made sense to me why you would go that direction, why that would even be said. Because for the 49ers, it makes no sense to trade Trey Lance right now. First off, you've already built your roster. The 49ers have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And they've already put that together with Trey Lance's contract on the books. So his cap hit's already been accounted for. And with that cap hit on the books, the 49ers still have over $10 million in cap space. More than enough money to add any players, do an extension with Nick Bosa this year if they want to, and so be it. And that's a topic for another show, the Nick Bosa contract deal. In terms of Trey Lance, you know, you have a quarterback in Brock Purdy. Even if you expect Brock Purdy to be your starter week one, there's no sure thing right now with Purdy. Played very well in those 8 games that he was able to finish off for the 49ers. Started off the NFC Championship game with a couple of nice completions. But we're not 100% certain what we're going to see from Brock Purdy in 2023. He's coming back from a major surgery. You know, the UCL tear that he suffered in the NFC Championship game. We're not sure if he's going to be that same guy. George Kittle has mentioned that he's seen him throw and that, that Purdy is in good spirits, that he looks like he is in good health and that he's confident and those types of things. But we're not going to know really where he is until he gets on the field, until he actually has bodies around him, how he's feeling, if he's going to be the same guy that he was last year, being able to stand in the pocket, deliver the ball, or is he going to become more of the guy that we saw at the end of the year where he's bouncing out of the pocket every time there's any kind of pressure in his face? So at this point, getting rid of Trey Lance just to get rid of him doesn't make sense. And, the other part of it is you just need to have really good depth in that quarterback room. The 49ers, of any team, they know that. And so, again, this is something that you're hearing a lot of from fans. And like I said, even some journalists too. And it doesn't make sense. And I don't think the 49ers are a dumb team. And so that's why I don't see them moving off of Trey Lance anytime soon. Now, does that mean that they're not going to trade him at some point this year? No, they could still possibly trade him. You get a deal that just blows your socks off. Well, then, yeah, maybe you make that deal. But even then, in order to make that deal, there's some things that have to happen. Brock Purdy needs to prove himself. He needs to show that he's fully healthy. Sam Darnold needs to show that he's better than Trey Lance, or at least capable of playing at that same level that Lance would give you. And then you have to have a third guy that can come in and actually keep you afloat. And right now, the 49ers don't have that third guy if you were to move Trey Lance. Because Brandon Allen, as good as he was during OTAs and minicamp, when there was nobody in front of him, once they put players in front of him and he had to worry about a pass rush, his numbers really took a dip. So I don't think the 49ers have the depth overall in their room right now to sustain this season the way that they would like it to. Now, again, if somebody's going to come and knock on your door and knock your socks off, then yeah, sure, you make that trade. I just don't see that happening at this point. I don't think Trey Lance has proven himself enough to the NFL for a team to want to give up a, say, second-round draft pick or trade a big name in exchange for Lance. I just don't see that happening right now. Could be wrong. Maybe the NFL is going to prove me wrong. We'll see on that. The other thing I've heard a lot of around this is how the 49ers have mismanaged their quarterback room. I don't agree with that either. I think the 49ers have tried to improve their quarterback room. The trade for Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017 was all about trying to improve that quarterback room. And say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo, he was definitely a flawed quarterback. There was definitely issues with his game. But at the same time, the 49ers won a lot of games with him. Now, ultimately, I think, Garoppolo held them back from winning a Super Bowl. His biggest misses, 2 deep balls, a deep ball in the Super Bowl to Emmanuel Sanders, and then the deep ball to George Kittle early in that NFC Championship game against the Rams. I think some people missed that one as far as one of the big mistakes of Jimmy Garoppolo's career during his time as the quarterback of the 49ers. And it's funny because that throw that Garoppolo missed to George Kittle in the NFC Championship game, that's a throw down the field that their current quarterback, Brock Purdy, could have hit in his sleep last season. So, you know, in terms of mismanaging the position, I don't think so. I don't think they're mismanaging the position now to keep 3 good quarterbacks on the roster. You know, if you feel like their 49ers are mismanaging that quarterback position now, just think back to 1987 and 1988 when the 49ers had Joe Montana and Steve Young in the room. And they continued to roll with Joe Montana even though they had traded for Steve Young, expecting him to be the quarterback of the future. Well, it wasn't until Montana was injured following the 1990 season that Young finally got his chance. So that meant that Young spent 87, 88, 89, and 90 on the 49ers roster playing very little. Now, did they mismanage that situation? No. I mean, there was no salary cap then, so it's a little bit different. But at the same time, they had a problem at quarterback. That's Joe Montana with a back injury following the 86 season. They made a move to get a guy that they felt could take that job if necessary, if Montana could no longer perform at the level that he was capable before. And that's Bill Walsh speaking. And ultimately, Walsh decided to stick with Joe Montana. When Walsh retired, George Seifert decided to stick with Joe Montana. And it wasn't until Montana was unable to physically play that Steve Young finally got his chance to be the quarterback of the 49ers. And it took a couple of years after that. And so, again, did the 49ers of the late 80s mismanage the quarterback position? I mean, the difference is they had the greatest quarterback in the history of the game at that point in Montana. And so they were able to win a couple Super Bowls. And right now, we're not sure what the 49ers have in terms of Brock Purdy. But what we do know is that he played pretty well, showed some really good things as a rookie, has a very good supporting cast around him. And if he comes out this season and is unable to get it done early on, you always have Trey Lance there to step in, or Sam Darnold if necessary to step in. But for the 49ers right now, I think trading Trey Lance would be the biggest mistake that they can make. You've got to wait until you know that Brock Purdy is 100% healthy before you ever entertain it. Take it for what it's worth. Thank you for tuning in. If you could please hit that like button, and then after you do that, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the updates that come here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Thanks a lot for tuning in once again, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be talking with you soon.